Strength of this team has been, getting back to neutral between games. You've had a lot of different outcomes throughout this season and this group, even before you got here. What'd you kind of just notice today as you guys got back together and got ready for Game 4?
Just a concentrated effort at establishing, what went wrong and what we need to do to fix it. Obviously, that hasn't been the character or display of the team, through the season and playoffs, and give them credit. They, established from jump how they were going to play, and we didn't do a good enough job responding to it. But looking forward to going back and having a chance to do that in Game 4.
Alex, how does the margin of the defeat affect the way you go into game four?
I mean, if anything, it just hurts your pride a little bit. They all count for one. That's the famous saying in the playoffs. Whether you win by one or lose by 40, it's one in the column for whatever team comes out on top. But obviously, just as competitors, like you don't want to lose games, but especially in that fashion. So, there's always a little bit of pride on the line. When you go out and the score is that lopsided.
Can the issues be fixed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the issues are anything alarming. I think they were playing for their lives, and we didn't come out with the right mindset. And even then, we had a chance to, course correct, and we didn't do it quick enough. So, like I said, give them credit. Like they played really well, and they showed, the type of fight that they have to be a good team and to be in the Western Conference Finals.
AC, yesterday was the first time you guys lost a turnover battle all postseason. They could be an anomaly, but assuming they're coming with different energy and can manage to close that gap during this series, like what are some of the other avenues they're supposed to use to win?
Yeah, I think we just played a little out of character. I think that they played really well, and I think that we played probably not our best, which is why the numbers are lopsided, the score is lopsided. Looking forward to have an opportunity to go out there and be who we are rather than let them dictate terms the whole game.
Mark talked yesterday about how he's seen Chet sort of continue to grow as the playoffs have gone on, just given the amount of time he missed in the regular season. What are some of the ways you've seen him sort of settle in these last few weeks?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the playoffs have helped him get back to a level of norm that I don't know if he could necessarily push himself to in that last month and a half of regular season. And you also have to remember, like dude broke his hip. Like at some point in this year, he wasn't walking, and now he's getting back to double doubles and affecting shots at the rim and stretching the floor for us. So I think just the ability to compete for him is the biggest thing. Like he's a really competitive person. He holds himself to a high standard, and I think that the postseason pushes you to a level that you have to play at. So I think it's been good for him to be able to kind of have necessarily not put it on himself and have the outside circumstances help him get to that last little stretch.
Alex, what's Shai's approach in these moments after hitting some adversity?
Yeah, I mean he's a pretty consistent guy. Whether we've won by 40 in the postseason, lost by 40 in the postseason, he shows up with the same mindset, same attitude that we're figure out a way to get the job done. Whether it takes him scoring 40 or him being in the ball and being disruptive on defense, but he's a calming force for our team just because he is so consistent.
When Anthony Edwards is aggressive and going downhill, as he has been lately, how does that affect your defense? How do you adjust?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-person job. Like any, all-star, all-NBA player in the league, there's not one person that's going to go out there and, shut them down for the whole game. We got to make sure that we're, early, we're anticipatory, we're in the spots we're supposed to be before he starts attacking, because he is a really good player and he's strong and athletic. And if he gets to spots necessarily, before we're ready, then it's usually in his favor.
It seemed like was there a difference between the level of physicality that was allowed for you guys defensively in the first two games as opposed to last night?
I don't know. That's kind of a subjective question. For me, I try to go out there and play the same way every night, whether the refs call it or not. That's kind of up to them.
When it comes to Anthony Edwards, a quick start like he did in the first quarter, game three, how contagious is that for the rest of his teammates, and how crucial is it in the sense of getting out to a quick start, but also limiting those type of opportunities for him?
Yeah, I mean, even with their quick start, I think we had a chance, like I said, to course correct, and it was a 1 or 2 possession game. 5-6 minutes into the game, and we didn't do the correct things that we needed to do to put ourselves in a position to have a chance to like withstand that, or sustain that. And I think that, whether that's mental fatigue or physical fatigue, or if it was just us not having our best last night, we got to make sure that we look ourselves in the mirror and make sure that we correct any of that if we want to have a chance to win the next game.
Alex, you said the issues were not alarming. Can you explain what that means, and what is the messaging then? If not that.
Yeah, I mean, if maybe that's not the correct phrasing, but anytime you lose in that fashion, it should alarm you. Just for the fact that you didn't play how you're supposed to play, and the other team played really good. Like that, it's not a lack of respect for the Timberwolves. It's not a lack of respect for how hard they play and how good they are. I think the not alarming part was more about things that we can control. We didn't control last game, whereas we did in the first 2 games. And I think when you look at it through that lens, it presents itself in a way that, you don't need to hit an emergency button, but you do need to course correct and get back to who you are, or else you will be in a bad spot.
Anyone else?
Thank you. Appreciate it.